What you are about to hear has not been reported on mainstream news, and for good reason. If the public knew what was happening behind the closed doors of the Pentagon at 3 a.m. this morning, there wouldn't just be protests in the streets, there would be total panic. We have received information regarding a classified directive, a specific order that was issued directly from the Oval Office to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the response was not what the president expected. For the first time in American history, we are staring down the barrel of a fracture so deep that the word civil war is no longer just a metaphor used by political pundits on television. It is a tactical reality being discussed in war rooms right now. While you were sleeping, the chain of command was tested in a way it has never been tested before. The reports coming out of Washington suggest that a red line was crossed, an order given to deploy active duty military personnel onto American soil to seize control of state infrastructure. This is not a drill. This is not a speculation. This is the moment everything changes. Most people think that the chaos we have seen over the last week was the climax, but they are wrong. That was just the prologue. The real story began late last night when encrypted communication lines between the White House and the Department of Defense lit up with a Priority 1 directive, according to sources familiar with the situation. The administration has moved beyond political maneuvering and is now attempting to utilize the Insurrection Act to bypass the courts entirely. The narrative being pushed is one of national security and restoring order, but the specifics of the order tell a much darker story. The directive allegedly called for the immediate mobilization of the 82nd Airborne Division to secure key logistical hubs in swing states, hubs that control not just the flow of information, but the physical ballots and voting machines that are at the center of this entire crisis. But here is where the story takes a turn that no one predicted. The generals said no. Let that sink in for a moment. The military leadership of the United States of America reportedly refused a direct order from the commander-in-chief. In any other country or in any other time, this would be called a coup. But today, in the fog of this constitutional crisis, no one knows what to call it. Are the generals protecting the Constitution, or are they going rogue? This is the question that will define the next 48 hours of your life. If the military splinters, if one faction remains loyal to the president and another faction remains loyal to the Constitution, we are no longer looking at a political dispute. We are looking at a kinetic conflict on our own doorstep. You need to understand the gravity of this. This isn't about Republicans versus Democrats anymore. This is about the guys with the tanks versus the guys with the launch codes. And you, the American citizen, are caught right in the middle of a power struggle that could level the very foundation of this republic. Before we go deeper into the leak and what it says about the next 72 hours, I need you to do something for me. The algorithm is trying to bury this video because the information we are sharing is considered sensitive. They don't want you to connect these dots. Do not let them silence this channel. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications right now. Do it so you are part of the network that knows the truth before it hits the headlines. This community is growing fast because we are the only ones talking about the reality of the situation without the filter. Join us and let's get back to the leak. The document in question, which is being referred to in intelligence circles as the Midnight Memorandum, outlines a strategy that is terrifyingly precise. It details a plan to federalize the National Guard in 12 specific states, effectively stripping the governors of those states of their power. Imagine that you wake up tomorrow morning and your governor, the person you voted for, is no longer in charge of your state's security. Instead, a commander appointed by the president is giving the orders. This is a direct violation of the Posse Comitatus Act, which is supposed to prevent the military from acting as a police force against its own citizens. But the lawyers in the White House have found a loophole. They are arguing that because the integrity of the election is a matter of national security, the laws that protect us from martial law no longer apply. They are rewriting the rulebook in real time, and they are hoping you won't notice until it is too late. The pushback from the Pentagon wasn't just a polite refusal. It was a standoff. Reports indicate that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs made it clear that the military would not participate in what he termed an unlawful seizure of civilian authority. This refusal has created a vacuum. The president cannot force the military to act without risking a mutiny, but he cannot back down without looking weak. So what is the alternative? This is where it gets truly dangerous. If the regular army won't do it, the administration turns to federal agents. We are seeing reports of Department of Homeland Security teams being put on standby. These are not soldiers trained in the rules of engagement for war. These are federal police forces that answer directly to the executive branch. If they are deployed to do the job that the military refused to do, we will see clashes not between armies, but between federal agents and local law enforcement. Think about the optics of that: federal agents storming a state capitol building, met by state troopers who have been ordered by their governor to hold the line. It sounds like the plot of a dystopian movie, but this is the scenario that intelligence analysts are running simulations for right now. The Midnight Memorandum didn't just ask for troops. It asked for control over the internet infrastructure in these key regions. The justification given was to prevent foreign interference, but anyone with eyes can see that controlling the internet means controlling the narrative. If they can shut down the flow of information, they can do whatever they want in the dark. That is why we are seeing outages and technical glitches in major cities. They are testing the kill switch. They want to see if they can turn off the lights before they make their move. The economic implications of this standoff are immediate and catastrophic. Markets hate uncertainty, but they hate civil instability even more. We are already seeing a massive sell-off in the Asian markets in response to these rumors. The dollar is wobbling because foreign investors are realizing that the United States is not as stable as they thought. If the military fractures, or if we see open conflict between federal and state forces, the value of the dollar could collapse overnight. This isn't just about politics. It's about your savings, your retirement, your ability to buy food next week. When a superpower turns on itself, the financial shockwaves are felt in every single household. You need to be prepared for a liquidity crisis. If the banks panic, they will freeze withdrawals. We saw it in Greece, we saw it in Cyprus, and don't think for a second it can't happen here. Let's talk about the loyalty tests. Sources inside the administration are leaking that they are vetting Secret Service details and mid-level military commanders to see who is loyal to the person and who is loyal to the office. This is a purge. They are looking for yes men who will carry out the orders that the generals refused. This is the most dangerous phase of a collapse, when competence is replaced by blind loyalty. When you have unqualified loyalists in charge of powerful weapons and tactical teams, mistakes happen. Tragedies happen. We are one trigger pull away from a massacre that could ignite the entire country. The tension in DC is so thick you can cut it with a knife. Staffers are resigning in quiet protest, wiping their phones and leaving the city. They know what's coming. The governors are not sitting idly by. We have received confirmation that 3 major state governors have activated their own National Guard units, not to assist the federal government, but to protect state sovereignty. This is unprecedented. You now have National Guard units answering to 2 different commanders. If the president federalizes them and the governor orders them to stand down, which order do they follow? You are asking 19-year-old kids to choose between their president and their neighbor. This is how civil wars start. It's not always grand armies marching on fields. It's confusion, conflicting orders, and a breakdown of the chain of command at the local level. We also need to look at the international response. Our enemies are watching. China has moved naval assets into the Pacific, sensing weakness. Russia has gone silent, which is even more terrifying. They know that if the US military is busy staring down its own citizens, the rest of the world is open for business. The global order relies on American stability, and right now we are the most unstable nation on Earth. The Midnight Order was a signal to the world that the president is willing to burn the house down to keep the keys, and the refusal of the generals was a signal that the house is already divided. There is a psychological element to this as well. The strategy is to exhaust you. They want you to be so tired of the news, so overwhelmed by the constant crisis, that you just check out and let them do whatever they want. They want you to say, "I don't care anymore. Just make it stop." That is when they win. That is when they slip. The handcuffs on you while you are too tired to fight back. You have to stay vigilant. You have to keep watching, keep sharing, and keep talking about this. The moment we stop paying attention is the moment the order goes through without resistance. The generals held the line last night, but they cannot hold it forever. The pressure on them is immense. There are rumors of resignations being prepared. If the current Joint Chiefs resign, the president will appoint new ones who will sign the order. We are entering a 72-hour window of extreme danger. The weekend is approaching, and typically, major moves are made on Friday nights when the media cycle is slow and people are distracted. We expect another attempt to mobilize forces within the next 2 days. This time, they might not use the military. They might use private contractors. There are thousands of private security contractors who do not have the same constitutional qualms as the regular army. If these mercenaries are brought in to secure the voting machines, we are looking at a shadow army operating on US soil with zero accountability. So what does this mean for you? It means you need to have a plan. This isn't fear-mongering. It's basic survival logic. If the supply chains are disrupted because of checkpoints and protests, do you have enough food? If the power grid is targeted in a cyber attack meant to create confusion, do you have a backup? The government is preparing for the worst-case scenario, and you should too. Do not rely on the systems that are currently crumbling to save you. The midnight order proved that the system is breaking. The refusal of the generals proved that the break is irreparable. We will continue to monitor the movement of the 82nd Airborne and the National Guard units in the contested states. We have eyes on the ground sending us updates every hour. If we see a single tank move, if we see a single federal agent cross a line they shouldn't, you will be the first to know, but we need your help to keep this channel alive. Share this video with everyone you know. Post it in your group chats, on your social media, email it to your family. The mainstream media is giving you the sanitized version. We are giving you the raw intelligence. The scariest part of the leaked memo wasn't just the deployment of troops. It was the section concerning detainment. There is language in there that suggests the suspension of habeas corpus, the right to a fair trial for anyone deemed an instigator of civil unrest. That is a broad term that could mean protesters, journalists, or even people posting online. They are building the legal framework to lock people up and throw away the key until the crisis is resolved. And as we know from history, these crises are never resolved quickly. Once those powers are taken, they are rarely given back. The next few days will determine whether we remain a republic or become a police state. The battle lines are drawn. On one side, an administration desperate to hold on to power at any cost. On the other side, the institutions designed to check that power, straining under the weight of the pressure, and in the middle, millions of Americans wondering if their country will survive the night. The midnight order failed, but it was just the first attempt. The second attempt will be stronger, faster, and likely more violent. Stay safe, stay alert, and trust your eyes, not the narrative. The silence from the mainstream media is deafening, but the noise behind the scenes is deafeningly loud. We are listening, and we will keep reporting. This is the exposed state, and we are the only ones telling you the truth about the war for America's soul.